Learn the facts. Rabies kills nearly 4,000 Americans every 1,000 years. Rabies. Ugh.
The Office will always sit among the pantheon of TV entertainment. I mean, how could it not with scenes like this?
It knows where it is going.
This is the
machine knows.
This is the lake.
Stop yelling at me.
No, it's
Stop
up here.
yelling.
There's no road
Here.
But its often overlooked last season breaks a spell that Hollywood has cast over both movies and society as a whole for decades.
On the throne, Jean is my very own. And life couldn't possibly
Parkour.
From seasons 1 through 7, Steve Carell in the role of the inept and annoying, yet somewhat lovable boss Michael Scott was much of the lifeblood of the show.
Why don't you go, Michael?
Because I already did. Remember? I burned my foot on the George Foreman grill.
But after season 7, and Carell had stepped away, it was now up to the more supporting characters to carry the weight for seasons 8 and 9. These were big shoes to fill, not only because of Steve Carell's brilliant performance, but also because the side characters hadn't generally been developed to carry the weight of the show. In addition, much of the key narrative arcs had been already resolved by the end of season 7. For these reasons, many fans felt as though seasons 8 and 9 were mostly filler, as it was evident that the writers were struggling to decide what to do with characters and where to take the show, especially since Jim and Pam's will they won't they question had been resolved. But there's one part of these last seasons, specifically in season 9, that I found not to be just important on the show, but to have transcendent importance for the audience. Before diving into it, I want to acknowledge that I use the word important for a TV show. Of course, this is just entertainment.
Parkour!
I'm not going to pretend that a TV show has the same type of importance as something like the career of a paramedic or a good education. That being said, the effect that stories have on society does have importance. Not to be dark, but Stalin and other famous proponents of propaganda were well aware of the effect of cinema on society, as he once said, "If I could control the medium of the American motion picture, I would need nothing else to convert the entire world to communism." Now, of course, this video is not about communism or politics. I think anyone can agree that what Stalin did was evil. But the point is, in general, one doesn't have to do much looking until they find ways that film and TV has shaped society, for better or for worse. So back to The Office. The striking storyline in season 9 was that of Jim and Pam. At this point, they're married and have kids, so the question of whether or not they'll end up together, this main point of tension for a number of seasons, is already resolved. But that's just the point. Them ending up together was resolved, but that's not the end of marriage, isn't it? It's just the beginning. Throughout the history of cinema and storytelling, a trope set in stone for the eons is whether our hero will get the girl or not, whether these two can be brought together or reconciled before the end of the story, so we can have the contentment that our main character's deepest desires have been fulfilled. Only then do we feel content to check out of the story and back into our own realities. But this trope, however entertaining and enjoyable, stops short. It's incomplete, and its emphasis doesn't illustrate the long-term reality of a healthy relational commitment. Only the kindling of attraction and romance. We don't get to see what happens after they ride off into the sunset. The trope certainly has its place in cinema, and it's not inherently bad. It usually adds some fun.
Look like an accident.
Yes.
Well, we gotta get that bomb out.
No. I'll find the bomb. You get the girl.
Deal.
But when trying to find romances extolling long-term healthy commitment, we can see the former trope is way overrepresented. By stopping the story right after the moment in which our main duo finally ends up together, TV and film has subliminally told us for decades that our hero is riding off into the sunset and that the pursuit is over. Commitment isn't of the slightest concern because the main couple will now live together in the same effortless, enchanted bliss until their last sunset. Part of this trope is defined by the medium. A film provides only 2 or so hours and thus lacks the runtime to meaningfully delve into any long-running storyline like TV can. So if there's any romantic plot, it's always about the winning of romance and almost never about the romance and virtues of marital commitment. But The Office uses the strength of the episodic format in their favor to show the progression of a relationship. Most of this part of Jim and Pam's story revolves around an opportunity with the company Athlete that a friend starts based on Jim's idea from college. It doesn't start off on a great foot in terms of communication, as Jim fails to tell Pam before accepting a position with the company.
Hey man, it's Halpert. Did you go to the other guy yet? Great, don't. I'm in. I started a new business with my college friend, but Pam doesn't know, Actually, I did tell Pam, and we decided no. But then I decided yes anyway, so...
This only continues the bad habit of Jim's lack of communication. This requires Jim to spend significant time in Philly to work up there, which takes him away from Pam quite a bit. The way they handle this distance causes tension and starts driving a wedge between them.
Hey, I was just about to call you.
Hey, hon, are you close?
I am still in Philly, actually.
What?
It's insane. This huge investor got cold feet, so I'm stuck here trying to keep him on board.
Hon, I wish you would have told me an hour ago when you knew you weren't going to make it.
Pam, I couldn't get out. I barely made it out just to make this phone call.
I want Daddy.
This chair's gonna be yours, and the desk.
I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone.
No doy.
I'm just gonna call you back. Thanks.
It's fine. It's just a seating arrangement. Doesn't matter.
In true-to-life fashion, the Office writers exemplified that in a relationship, if things don't get resolved in a healthy fashion, the seemingly greener grass will grow closer to the fence.
Help. Andy's gone. Jim's out. I just feel like I'm on my own here. I mean, okay, not completely on my own, but...
I don't want to put myself where I don't belong. If you ever need me, you just call me, and I'll be there for you.
What am I doing wrong, Brian?
Nothing. You're doing the best you can.
Brian.
The addition of Brian, the sound guy, was somewhat controversial with fans, and many regarded the inclusion of the camera crew as a strange and unnecessary fourth wall break. Some also argued that it wasn't confirmed that Brian had feelings for Pam, but by showing rather than telling, I think they made it pretty clear.
The people around you are basically who you end up spending your life with. I mean, because of where my desk was, I spent all those years looking at Pam, and I fell in love, so that stuff matters.
Nonetheless, in terms of Jim and Pam's relationship and how it connects to the trials of real life, I think the story thread of Brian was absolutely realistic and essential. Then, as tensions continue and the distance widens between Jim and Pam, there's one singular moment, one decision that sets the direction of their marriage in stone. It actually comes at the inspiration of the very person that was getting quite close to Pam during Jim and Pam's struggles.
We were telling two different versions of the same story, and then everything just went numb.
Well, I mean, that's okay. It doesn't mean that it's over, right? I mean, couples fight.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When we were fighting, it weirdly felt like the relationship was still alive, and it wasn't until we stopped fighting that we realized it was over. It's over.
First, we see a conflict-avoidant decision that can only widen the distance between them.
You know what? Maybe we should cancel that bottle of wine tonight.
Oh?
Jim says he has stuff to do in Philly that night and adds Pam probably has a lot to do as well. And when Pam questions it, the real reason comes out.
I just feel like we're gonna fight.
Yeah.
So, how about let's not?
Okay.
Then comes the decision that will cement the direction of their marriage.
I don't think you should go to Philly tonight. I think that you should stay, and I think we should fight.
You really want to fight on Valentine's Day?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. All right, put your dukes up, Beasley.
Their struggles, of course, aren't resolved instantly after this, but I'll take this moment, this little decision to fight it out, over any sunset-lit enchantment.
We're running off into the sunset.
Because it means far more. Healthy commitment takes courage, and the most meaningful moments of courage are often the small, quiet decisions. In this case, to fight for each other instead of taking the easy path, a frictionless slide towards further alienation. Maybe Pam temporarily keeping Jim from going all in on Athlete was possibly unfair on her part, but maybe it was necessary, as Jim needed to be able to let go of something he desired so much he was willing to be deceptive about it. But in the end, Jim still chooses Pam over the job of a lifetime. He puts his family before his career, choosing his legacy as a husband and a father over the fulfillment of a job.
Meeting athletes on their home turf, building relationships. Yeah, it sounds exciting, but I said no, and that's final. I almost lost Pam over this business. I'm not risking that again. Just go all in for what's most important. That's my new thing.
Despite whatever missteps may have been had in the tying up of Season 9, one other thing I appreciate is that in poetic fashion, the writers exhibit that if we end up receiving the things we desire most, it's often only after we let them go and learn to be at complete and total peace with it.
He wants the manager's chair. I thought you wanted that job.
Yeah, I did, but I made too many mistakes.
It's out of my reach now. Besides, I think Jim would be a fine manager. I'd be happy to see Jim as manager.
Will you be the new manager?
Dwight Schrute is manager!
And if he never comes back again, that's okay. We're friends, and I'm sure we'll stay friends. I'm totally fine. Everything is going to be totally fine.
Sorry. Are you free for dinner tonight?
Yes.
They're gonna pay for us to go pitch out west. We talking Spurs, Jazz, Cowboys, Blake Griffin, baby.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Can't do what?
This, man, I can't do this to Pam. Okay. Where would we go?
Austin?
You want to do this?
I want to do this.
You really want to do this?
I really want to do this!
This example of Jim and Pam's relationship is certainly not the only example of struggle and the virtue of commitment in a marriage. I mean, it's part of the reason The Incredibles is one of Pixar's greatest films. But examples are so few and far between that this one really sticks out. In conclusion, my intention is obviously not to paint marriage as a constant, exhausting, knock-down, drag-out fight for love, but to appreciate how The Office shows us that the spark, the romance, is just the beginning. That sunset at the end of the movie is only where the story starts in a healthy relationship.
But there were a lot of times last year when it did not feel like a fairy tale. But then it got deeper, and it got stronger.
And the rest is anchored by commitment, one day at a time. Also, when you find the right person, don't forget to run them off the road and use a bullhorn to blast them with a verbal declaration of your love.
Pull over!